All right, everyone, how are we doing today? We're finally back in here. It's been a week or two. I'm pretty tired right now. This is a before work recorded video, so low energy. Today we're gonna be watching NBA superstars with awfully built rosters in their prime from Andy Hoops. Andy Hoops got 500K. I remember watching Andy Hoops back in like 2020. It's been a while since I watched the Andy Hoops video and he started the recording there. NBA superstars awfully built rosters in their prime. What can we think of? Russell Westbrook, is that the type of player we're looking for? Dame was the thumbnail. Yeah, that roster wasn't very good either. I don't know. Yeah, CJ wasn't too terrible. So let's just get. Okay, is that Kevin Garnett in the bottom? I see. That's a good pull. How far back are we going here? I don't know. Let's see.
It's quite common to see the NBA's greatest superstars of their generation never see much playoff success.
Like the face of this
a result
video.
of their front office's incompetence, which leads to a roster that simply isn't built properly to support them.
Magnificent move by Tracy McGrady.
Tracy McGrady. I heard Tracy McGrady ain't ever even won a playoff series
made just
in his
one
career.
appearance in the conference finals. That was in 2019, where they got swept. Besides that, the entirety of Lillard's prime was met with.
I don't know. Sometimes making the Western Conference Finals is a big deal, man. That's a big deal. Teams like the Utah Jazz don't get to do that. So I think if you made it to the Western Conference Finals, that's just like that's a big accomplishment.
When they got swept. Besides that
means you
the
made it.
entirety of Lillard's prime was met with consistent first-round exits year after year, as the Blazers could not field a competitive team to suit his greatest strengths as a player.
Damn, they was missing the playoffs at the end.
In just an instant, so much that took so long to build is gone.
I remember that injury. I was watching that game live. Was it against OKC?
It's a first-round exit for this.
Watching that live.
In this video, let's take a look at him and 5 other situations where
They still be
superstars were
OKC
forced to
in the
endure the
playoffs.
worst roster constructions I've ever seen, to the point where it almost seems
Nurkic
like their own
used to be
team
tough as hell. Y'all
sabotaged
remember the
them and
Nurkic
destroyed
5x5
the
by
rebuilding process
5
before
by
they could
5
take
whatever
off.
game?
Let's take a detailed look. When Damian Lillard joined the Blazers in 2012, he entered as a 22-year-old four-year senior who became Weber State's first ever first-round draft pick. Immediately, you could tell he was different than other rookies. He was mature, he was poised, and played the game like he was a 10-year veteran. However, despite winning Rookie of the Year and becoming an All-Star in his second season, the truth is, this wasn't his team yet.
New Orleans Pelicans were
It
a
was
thing when he was
LaMarcus
drafted.
Aldridge's.
When was he
Though the two
drafted?
of them became friends,
2012.
there wasn't the type of camaraderie that Lillard had hoped for.
I remember
and
they
in
were
the back
there
of everyone's
2012,
minds,
2K12.
Aldridge was on his way out, as Lillard became the new exciting thing.
LaMarcus.
It's Lillard. He got the shot off. Lillard,
When he hit
Why
this
did
game-winning
LaMarcus
shot
leave?
against Houston to clinch the series, this was the moment we all knew Lillard was destined to be the new face of the franchise. Unfortunately, with the departure of Aldridge in 2015 and the collapse of the old core,
Why did he leave?
the Blazers sought to move on and fully commit to building around Lillard. This was a fresh new
Look
start
at
to
this
a
core. Hold on. Wesley Matthews, LaMarcus Aldridge, Damian Lillard, Robin Lopez, and Nick Batum.
sought to move on and fully commit to building around Lillard. This was a fresh new start to a
core.
brand new era. And with what we already witnessed from Lillard, he definitely had the chops to be a franchise superstar. Except they
Did
kind of ruined it
LaMarcus Aldridge
immediately.
leave in free
The
agency or did they
2016
get to trade him?
offseason was met with a massive salary cap spike that caused a lot of bad players to get overpaid. Do you remember Luol Deng, Timofey Mozgov, Joakim Noah, Chandler Parsons? Some of the
Yeah, I
worst
remember all
contracts in
them.
history were given out in this one summer alone. But the Blazers
Nicholas
jumped in as
Batum was
well,
part of
giving
that?
out some massive deals to players who
don't know,
severely
Batum,
underperformed.
he was a
This
shooter.
included a 4-year, $70
Oh
million
my
deal
God.
for Evan Turner.
Yeah,
4
that's
years,
nasty.
$75 million for
Alan Crabb.
4 years,
What the?
$40 million
No,
for
what was going on in this offseason? He just named the faces of the offseason. We know about them. The Blazers. Mo Harkless, are we dead ass?
Turner. 4 years, $75 million for Alan Crabb. 4 years, $40 million for Maurice Harkless. 4
the
years,
salary
$41
cap
million
give-
for Myers Leonard. And a 4-year, $106
Was
million
that?
dollar rookie extension for CJ McCollum. Former Blazers GM Neil Olshey was responsible for all these signings, but he wasn't necessarily a bad GM back then. He was responsible for building the core around Aldridge to begin with, and his reasoning for re-signing these guys was simple.
Yeah, I think Portland's roster management back in the day was pretty good.
It's a big part of the organization, having consistency and stability.
Dealing with Brandon Roy's injuries.
These were all young players who can, in theory, grow and blossom
still being
together.
able to compete.
So when the summer ended, the Blazers exceeded well over the salary cap, equipped with the third highest payroll in the entire league.
They did that shit for no reason.
Is that Philly cheesesteak? Yeah, boy!
Allen Crabbe, $75 million.
And what did this exorbitantly expensive team lead to? A 41-41 record, and barely squeezing in as the 8th seed of the playoffs. The thing is, they were simply a bad, poorly constructed team around Lillard, the biggest hole being at center. Going from a LaMarcus Aldridge and Robin Lopez front court to a Mason Plumlee, Myers Leonard front court is hilarious. They knew it was bad, so they acquired Yusuf Nurkic from Denver. And Nurkic had a horrendous history of untimely injuries in Portland. Not just that, but Lillard is an absolute dominant powerhouse in the pick and roll. His combination of exploding to the basket with an unlimited three-point range, dude was unguardable if he had a great center to run with him. While Nurkic was a solid, big body who was quite skilled as a passer, the problem is, even when healthy, he was never the right center to play with him. He had pretty bad hands and not spectacular at rolling to the basket.
Nurkic,
Nurkic's bad hands.
From 2017 to 2021, Nurkic was in the 51st percentile in scoring off a pick and roll, which is not great. Heck, it was significantly worse than his backup, Myers Leonard. Nurkic wasn't bad, but what the team really needed was a much more athletic center who can finish the pick and roll at an elite level. Kinda like a Daniel Gafford or Derek Lively when they ran with Luka in Dallas.
Oh my gosh. This Luka team, I just saw highlights of this Luka versus the Timberwolves series back in 2024. Was that what it was? Like before they traded him? I forgot about this team, dude. This team was special. I can't believe they blew that up. I can't believe they blew that team up. I mean, Luka is never gonna be healthy in April. He wasn't even healthy here. There's always something wrong with his knees come April. But this team, man, forget. These Timberwolves fans are they're terrorized.
Kinda like
traumatized.
Daniel Gafford or Derek Lively when they ran with Luka in Dallas.
Luka was just one of them ones.
Lillard never had the chance to play with a center of their stock, and he just needed someone who can put more pressure at the rim. Secondly, when the Blazers committed to
I was trying to think
McCollum,
of other players that could be on this video, and I thought about Luka, but I was like, nah, he had Kyrie. I thought about that team.
Also committed to an incredibly undersized backcourt with two poor defenders. McCollum isn't a bad player by any means, but he was basically a worse version of Lillard with worse passing. But they needed somebody bigger, a bigger 3-and-D wing to cover for Lillard's deficiencies.
Duo, but
technically, Maurice Harkless was supposed to be that guy, that big 3-and-D wing.
CJ carried him to the
he was somebody who
finals.
every team needed during this era. The issue is, he was quite young when the team signed him, and honestly, he just stopped caring when he got paid. Remember the time when he stopped shooting threes because there was a clause in his contract that if he maintained above 35% three-point shooting, he'd get a $500,000 bonus?
Mo Harkless, come on.
The solution to that was, when he was above 35% towards the end of the year, he simply stopped shooting them to maintain his percentage. For the last 3 games of the season, Harkless did not attempt a single three-point shot.
Yo, but his money, man. Can't blame him.
Who doesn't give a crap about winning, it's tough.
Noah
Vonleh. This was
Vonleh.
compounded even further when Allen Crabbe, who the team spent so much money to retain, was not even a starting caliber player. It was a confusing signing because they already committed to CJ McCollum, so Crabbe became redundant and frankly useless.
Playoffs.
That's a bad shot. I don't care what anybody says. That's a bad shot,
dude.
The fact that this team,
y'all had to be there for that shot, dude. I was on this bed. I was on this very bed I'm sitting on right now. It was like 12 p.m., 12 a.m. It was like 11 p.m. I had school in the morning watching that shit, dude. Wow. Some of these shots in the 2019 playoffs, this was a legendary playoff. So many moments. So many moments, dude. This was my squad right here, for real. Once the Jazz got bounced by Harden again, this was my squad. Hated on OKC. We did it to OKC the year before. Damn, you're not the first one to do this shit. But continuing the tradition, that shot was great.
Bad shot. Care what anybody
great
says.
shot.
It was a bad shot.
It was a great shot.
The fact that this team made the conference finals in 2019, even with Nurkic injured and a horrendous roster of bad contracts,
I thought Nurkic had no
proves
impact.
how much potential this franchise truly had during the Damian Lillard era. If only they built a better roster around him. Durant and Westbrook.
How does nobody talk about how Lillard didn't do anything after the first round? I thought he was going to talk about it there, but no, that was the shortest part of the video.
Built a better roster around
Someone give CJ his fucking flowers.
And Westbrook.
Nobody remembers.
After the departure of James Harden and before the departure of Kevin Durant, the Thunder had several chances of winning the title. They still managed to make several conference
Westbrook
finals
and
was so
KD.
close to reaching the finals again in 2016 before they blew a 3-1 lead. This Durant and Westbrook era from 2013 until 2016, it could have been so much better if they had any semblance of quality role players to fit next to them.
They got Jeremy
For
Lamb.
one, the absence of Harden
Steven
left
Adams.
them with no shooting guard capable of creating their own play. Every shooting guard they had during this time frame were only good at standing in the corner and watching. Thabo Sefolosha, Jeremy Lamb.
I mean, how many on-ball players do you need at the end of the day? Anthony Morrow. Just seeing Anthony Morrow on Jeff Teague podcast. But like these are good role players. You got two ball-dominant Hall of Famers. I think they have plenty enough
good
talent.
at standing in the corner and watching.
Yeah, that's the exact
Jeremy
player
Lamb,
that they need.
Anthony Morrow, Dion Waiters, and of course, Andre Robertson.
Yeah.
Robertson for three.
Robertson, the
This
lockdown
consistently
defender.
led to games where their offense was very predictable because all their role players were so one-dimensional. They had such little versatility, and that was the case with Kendrick Perkins at center as well.
Man, y'all could have
Before
won the
Steven Adams
finals.
became the full-time starter,
Blowing a
Perkins was
3-1
the starting
lead.
center for several
Kendrick
years,
Perkins.
and he was
Kendrick
by far
Perkins
the
was
least
the
productive,
starter, bro.
worst starting center.
Y'all ever see the Kendrick Perkins highlight tape? Where he sends screens for nobody. Missing airball and reverse layups.
in
That
the
shit
entire
was...
league.
I love
The
that.
toughness was there, but
I
the
love that
talent
video.
wasn't. Durant and Westbrook needed a more skilled center who can at least do something in the paint to help them out, but he couldn't. He couldn't score to save his life. All of their poor roster construction culminated in the 2016 playoffs, their final season together, where it became painfully obvious how different the Thunder roster was constructed compared to the much deeper Warriors, who had every role player capable of doing so many things like dribbling,
they were up
passing,
3-1.
shooting, everything. While the Thunder
3-1.
had to rely on Andre Robertson and Dion Waiters to hit open threes, while simultaneously manning an incredibly tight six-man rotation by games 6 and 7.
You got two
And they still
superstars.
almost won, which goes to show how good this duo truly was, despite the disaster of a roster built around them. Even somebody off the bench like Enes Kanter, who had a strong presence in the paint, saw his playing time drastically reduce, because he was arguably the worst defender in the entire
Who
league.
was the coach of this team?
It seemed like they were
Scott
so
Brooks?
one-dimensional compared to the role players of other teams they had to face, like the Warriors or Spurs. Kevin Garnett. There's one thing to improperly construct a
this
good
is-
roster around your superstar, and then there's whatever the
maybe
hell
there are
happened to
more
Kevin
players.
Garnett in Minnesota.
Imagine the
It
rest of the
started when
videos,
former
Kevin
GM Kevin
Garnett.
McHale attempted to cheat and circumvent the salary cap to pay Joe Smith, a free agent,
Mm-hmm.
under the table. Since you probably know about this already, I
Smith.
don't need to get into the details, but basically, they got caught, and the Timberwolves got punished by
Nah, I
losing
didn't know
5
about
future
that.
first-round picks. They eventually got
Kevin
one of them
McHale
back,
a
but the
cheater?
damage was done. These lost draft picks included some of the most iconic draft classes of all time, and considering the
Really?
mediocre
Hold on. How many draft picks did they lose? They lost 5 first round. What? No. That's a big deal. I didn't know all of that.
They eventually got one of them back, but the damage was done. These lost draft picks included some of the most iconic draft classes of all time, And
They
considering
lost
mediocre
5 draft
Timberwolves had
picks.
no
I
picks
thought
to
y'all were
benefit
just.
from them, it was the single most disastrous moment in the history of the
I thought
Garnett
y'all
era.
was just plain struggling
And
because
probably the
y'all
worst thing in
sucked at
history to
picking up
happen to a
talent.
team trying to build around a star.
Kevin McHale.
The fact that KG was still able
What
to
are you
lead
doing?
terrible rosters year after year to the playoffs in the hyper-competitive West, it speaks volumes to how good of a player he truly was at his peak. A team
That
like this has
lucky
no
ass
business
pass.
winning 50 games.
You know who he's throwing to.
Honestly, it's not even a matter of how the Wolves rosters were constructed. Their players were simply bad because they had no options to build further. They lost so many assets. But with that being said, their bad decisions extended beyond that scandal.
Minnesota. Everybody that leaves Minnesota goes on to win a championship.
The 14th pick of the 1999 draft was William Avery, a bench warmer who fell out of the NBA in 3 seasons.
Nah, I don't know
The
who that
26th
is.
pick of the 2003 draft was Dudi Ebe, who
I don't know
played
who that
19
is.
games before getting
Number
cut.
26. I
They
mean, like,
also
what do you
drafted
expect?
Stephon Marbury, but they got rid of him too early in a horrible deal for a washed-up point guard in Terrell Brandon. Now, you know how
Nah,
I feel
he's
about
kinda
Marbury.
good.
He was hard to root for on the Knicks, but he wouldn't have the same pressure in Minnesota with Kevin Garnett being the best player. They missed a chance for these two young players to grow together, and they were legitimately very good friends.
Goes behind the back, inside.
Wait, why did they trade him?
Wow.
They also had Chauncey Billups for a couple years, another good friend of KG's, but they let him walk for nothing. 2 years after that, Billups won the
Everybody
championship.
that leaves Minnesota. Everyone that leaves Minnesota goes on to win a championship. Chauncey Billups, KG, Kevin Love, Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony
Finals
Edwards.
MVP in Detroit.
Everybody that leaves.
So even with the Joe Smith
Julius
scandal crippling
Randle.
them, the Wolves still had chances to build a good team, but they kept messing up. Without Billups or Marbury, their point guard situation was horrible because the Wolves invested too much into Terrell Brandon, who was completely washed by the time he got to Minnesota. This forced KG to play point guard himself, which is ridiculous. They needed him to do everything. I'm not even joking when I'm saying Garnett would have been their best player at every single position. Like, they'd rather run him at point guard instead of their actual point guards on the roster. By the time they actually did create a competent team around him, Garnett finally broke past the first round for the first time ever, and reached the conference finals.
Kevin Garnett. What an
Hey,
incredible
go
weak
for
side
Kevin
block.
Garnett.
The thing is, his supporting
They got
cast
this team
still
in
wasn't
2K.
that good. An aging Sam Cassell and Latrell Sprewell was all he needed to claim the number 1
Sam
seed
Cassell,
in
he
the West and make
changed
it this
lives.
far. So just imagine how great the Wolves could
Sam
have been
Cassell
if
takes every
KG had a
roster
real
deep in the
team for his
playoffs.
entire prime. LeBron James.
Oh, shoot.
Is it
I
reasonable to
forgot
say
about
that
him.
LeBron had already reached his prime in his first stint in Cleveland? I'd say by 2009 and 2010, he definitely did. At least his athletic prime.
Nice fake by James.
He put Kevin Durant in this video. That's crazy
Those were
work.
the years where the Cavs claimed the number 1 seed back-to-back, yet the roster itself was abysmal. If Mo Williams is your second best player, that's a problem. The root of the issue, at least according to LeBron himself, was his failure to recruit high-quality
Williams
free
better
agents,
than
despite his
Ilgauskas?
intense efforts every summer. He mentioned a lot of people didn't want to come to Cleveland.
I've been trying to get guys to come play with me since like 2007, and I've got rejected a lot. A lot of people didn't want to come to Cleveland. Let me just throw that out there.
Back then, the best free
shade.
agent LeBron recruited was Larry Hughes, who dropped off immediately when he came to Cleveland. Maybe it's something in the water. As a result, for LeBron's entire first stint in
But GM
Cleveland,
was a thing even back then. Maybe it's LeBron's fault.
they had to rely on low-quality role players or washed-up veterans chasing the title, like a
What was
37-year-old
that?
Shaquille O'Neal or a 34-year-old Ben Wallace, or a 33-year-old Antoine Jameson, a 34-year-old Anthony Parker, who started for
that?
81 games for the 2009-10 Cavs and provided very little outside of hitting the occasional three-pointer. Plus, an aging Zydrunas Ilgauskas was on his last legs. While LeBron was 24, 25 years old at his peak athleticism, the Cavs were the
Who did
6th
y'all
oldest
pay?
team in the league because of all these old guys.
What was their salary cap
The
looking like? Who
failure
did
of the
y'all
Cavs to
pay?
build a competitive roster was quite apparent in the playoffs. Against much deeper, much more well-rounded rosters with talent across the board, it doesn't matter how good LeBron was as an individual when he's surrounded by complete Realizing how
LeBron,
useless
man.
his entire team was, his playoff shortcomings in 2009 and 2010 were the final straw, and convinced him to take a different
Hold on,
path.
what
2009
round
and
he
2010
lost in
were
the
the
second
final
round?
straw, and convinced him to take a different path. We all know what happened next. Tracy McGrady. T-Mac's 4 seasons in Orlando were the best individual seasons of his life. Although he technically didn't reach his prime years yet, injuries kinda ruined his time in Houston. In Orlando, statistically, he was at his peak, but injuries also ruined his time there, but for his teammates.
Yeah,
Back
Grant
in the
Hill.
2000 offseason, Magic head coach Doc Rivers had a genius plan. Well, maybe genius isn't the right word.
No, say no more. We know why they lost. We know why they lost, man. I didn't know Doc Rivers was coaching back then.
Magic head coach Doc Rivers had a genius plan. Well, maybe genius isn't the right word. It was a simple plan that could have built the biggest dynasty in the Eastern Conference. Sign Tim Duncan, Tracy McGrady, and Grant Hill in free agency. It was as simple as that, and it seemed like it was going to happen.
His plan?
They managed to get T-Mac and Grant Hill, until his meeting with Tim Duncan for dinner, where Rivers said something to him that would forever change the course of NBA history.
What?
No, your girlfriend cannot travel with us.
What?
The Magic had a team policy that basically
said... Why is it actually his fault? What? I was trolling. I thought it was playoff success we were talking about. And I was like, oh, Doc Rivers, you know, he doesn't really win anything. But, huh? No, your girlfriend cannot travel with us. He was that close to signing with the Magic? Tim Duncan, you were about to leave. Why was he about to leave San Antonio? What the
girlfriend
heck?
Cannot travel with us. The Magic had a team policy that basically said friends and family members cannot fly on the team plane unless it's for business purposes.
Say, I made my visit with Tim Duncan.
And you just straight up accepted that policy? Grant Hill, he left his girl.
Business purposes.
Say, I made my visit with Tim Duncan, and I was at the dinner. Can significant others travel on the plane? And Doc said no.
The moment Rivers said that to Duncan, it was like the oxygen got sucked out of the building, and for the rest of the nights, it was awkward. He should have just lied, honestly. Just lied to Duncan to sign him,
that
and
wasn't
then deal
his
with
policy?
the whole plane policy thing later. Duncan would have been upset at first, but
they were really about to sign. Orlando was about to sign.
Was another major sign.
Grant Hill and Tim Duncan. I didn't know Orlando. When did Orlando have that much gravity? When did everybody wanted to go to Orlando back in the day? Never heard that.
All-star in Detroit, but the minute he joined the team, he was crippled by recurring ankle problems. These ankle issues would sideline him for years. And to make it worse, Hill's max contract clocked 30% of the team's salary cap. That's 30% of dead weight. As a result, the team had such little room to build or change anything. Without Hill or Duncan, T-Mac was basically the only guy Orlando got. And with Doc Rivers' dream for a super team disintegrated, McGrady spent his best 4 years with atrocious teammates. There were no redeeming qualities of these teams outside of him, and they didn't have a plan
Not his fault.
It was either go all in and form a super team or bust. They couldn't even get to the super team part because of Duncan not coming and Hill perpetually injured.
I can't name anybody else on this team.
As the 8th seed of the 2003 playoffs, T-Mac almost single-handedly toppled the Detroit Pistons.
McGrady, jumper up, got it! 1.8 to go.
Oh, dude, I heard about this series because they were talking about it when the Magic and the Pistons faced off in the first round. This year, because it was a 1-8 seed match, and it went the same exact way. They blew a 3-1 lead. Wait, was that a 3? Damn, they blew a 3-1 lead. I didn't even. I forgot the Magic blew a 3-1 lead this year.
That was his third straight
Pistons
year,
really
averaging
went down
over 30
3-1.
points a game in the playoffs.
When
But
Franz
once
went
again,
down,
it wasn't enough. Another first-round exit. And that was what T-Mac became known for the rest of his career, his inability to get past the first round. Until his final year in the league, where he rode the coattails on the Spurs bench.
right?
Kobe Bryant.
Finally got
Kobe
to play
found
with
himself
Tim
in a
Duncan.
unique position among superstars in the sense that when he was dropping 35 a game, though, during his peak,
Kobe.
it was the worst roster he's ever had.
Schmus
The
Parker.
main reason for this is Shaquille O'Neal wanted out, and the Lakers couldn't get much back in return because they had such little leverage in negotiating. This led to a couple years, specifically the 2005-06 and 2006-07 seasons, where Kobe scored the most points he's ever had. which included the iconic 81-point game against Toronto.
Is that just because he wasn't playing with anybody? I'm sure these numbers wouldn't have been that high if...
more iconic 62 points in 3 quarters, which outscored the entire Mavs team. To this day, that remains the only time in history where a single player had more points than an entire team through 3 quarters of play. The team surrounding him, however, well, besides Lamar Odom, the Lakers had 0 competent players in the rotation, players that didn't even belong in the NBA. Their starting lineup included Kwame Brown, Smush Parker, Chris Mim, or Luke Walton, both of whom started significant games during the best individual years of Kobe's career.
That team is terrible.
They had no business being even rotation players, let alone starters. But there were multiple reasons why the Lakers wasted away Kobe's best 2 seasons. And the main thing is Mitch Kupchak's decision to be patient and wait for the perfect opportunity to make a trade to get them back into contention. With a roster filled with, let's be real, very low-quality assets, they needed to be patient, to find a team out there desperate enough to trade away their star and blow it up. Not just any star.
So Shaq leaves, right? That's a lot of money you get from Shaq leaving. How could y'all couldn't sign anybody? That's kind of crazy.
Find a team out there desperate enough to trade away their star and blow it up.
Not good with this free agency
Not just
shit.
Any star, but somebody who could actually play alongside Kobe, which is a tough task in itself. It wasn't for a lack of trying, however. Kupchak nearly pulled off a generational deal that involves sending Lamar Odom and Andrew Bynum to the Timberwolves for Kevin Garnett.
Almost killed the
Wolves. This deal would have
Wolves.
involved some picks, I'd imagine, but it fell through at the last minute because the Wolves backed out. Not to mention, with back-to-back years of losing in the first round to the Suns, Kobe himself was increasingly frustrated with the team not being able to get anybody. So much so that his name was everywhere among trade rumors during the 2007 offseason. It almost seemed like a guarantee that Kobe would be gone. But it was also a reasonable trade request because, from his perspective, he was wasting the best years of his career on a team that seriously wasn't competitive. However, Mitch Kupchak's desire to find the perfect star for Kobe finally came to fruition. The 2008 trade deadline. The Lakers acquired Pau Gasol, a perfect complement to Kobe, and this single trade was enough to catapult the Lakers back to the top.
Let me see the trade details for that one. Was Marc Gasol in the trade? Grizzlies trade Pau Gasol to the Lakers for Kwame Brown, Javaris Crittenton, and 2 draft picks. That's nothing. What the heck?
Acquired Pau Gasol,
Kwame Brown for Pau Gasol.
To Kobe, and this single trade was enough to catapult the Lakers back to the top. I guess you can say Mitch Kupchak's patience paid off after all. Anyway, that's all folks. Those were some of the most iconic superstars in history, with rosters constructed horribly to fit their talents. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Can you think of any others who might fit the theme of this video? Thank you all so much for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. And of course,
Indiana, Paul George. Who else? I can't think. I'm like low. Not a lot's going on up here today. I can't think. I can't talk. Can't breathe. But yeah, these are some of the key ones. I don't know what Kobe was doing all year. He only had 2 years. We just wanted to put Kobe. These were some real superstars. These are like superstars. LeBron, Kobe, T-Mac. Good choices. Learned some stuff in this video, man. Tim Duncan to Orlando. I feel like I knew that somewhere down the line, but I forgot. I didn't know about the Doc Rivers part, though. I never knew. Was that Doc Rivers' first coaching stint? Doc Rivers. Which team is going to succumb to the Doc Rivers curse next? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day.